My name is Erika Shields. I'm Chief of Police for the Atlanta Police Department. Yesterday, we knew that we anticipated that we would have a protest of some sort in light of the goings-on in Minneapolis. And just to be clear, no one in law enforcement who is of sound mind supports the behavior. That was a murder. It was a murder that was filmed and in broad daylight, and it didn't matter to the cop. And what I'd say to you, it didn't just not matter to the cop, it didn't matter to that human being. And that goes to the greater issue at hand that my mayor is alluding to. Our posture in Atlanta is one of tolerance. It's the birthplace of civil rights. We have a very strong, affluent, and well-respected African-American community. And we take pride and view it as our responsibility to hear them. After the murder in Minneapolis, we knew there was going to be much anger, fear, raw emotion. Our posture with protests is one of tolerance. We accommodate the folks. We know we're going to get yelled at. We know we're going to get spit on. We know there's going to be a lot of anger to us. But that goes with our job, and it's okay. And we will accommodate those protests for days on end so people can be heard. They have a right to be heard. That was our posture as we went into last night's event. And initially, things were fairly routine. It became apparent a couple, 2-3 hours in, that there were people within the protest who were not here to protest. They were here to destroy Atlanta. The behavior was not to make a position statement. It was one of just violence, extreme violence. The problem is, by the time we recognized that we had this sector, they were embedded in with all of these other hundreds of individuals. So how do you extract a couple hundred people out of 1,000 without injuring the other 800? When people are throwing knives, have Molotov cocktails, throwing rocks, gunshots are going off. At that point, we had to back off from the posture of making arrests and shutting down the protest. We had to go to a position of holding the line and getting enough resources in that we could recover safely. It became apparent to me pretty quickly that my officers were in extreme harm. And we knew we were sitting on a powder keg. And our goal was to just stay on that lid until we could get some help. One of the best things about the state of Georgia is that we have an incredible law enforcement community. They all step up, federal, state, local, and help us out. I didn't even have to ask people to send police. They showed up. But it took a long time to get the necessary equipment, the necessary personnel to do this safely. It had gotten that violent. When we knew that we could start dispersing the crowd safely to the people who had come to protest and were still lingering to watch, safely to the officers, then it became a forward-moving process. We started to gain successes in the COP area, by which time the group had splintered off, a large number of them, and gone up to the north end of our city, Buckhead. By now, it had become very apparent to us that this was a highly calculated terrorist organization. And I don't say that loosely. When you come in and your goal is to inflict harm, damage, property damage, without any regard to human life, you are a terrorist. Thankfully, we were in alignment, in agreement, and we had the support of Governor Kemp, who brought in the National Guard. We needed them. The level of violence had reached that point. These were not Atlantans. We knew they were not Atlantans. They were lost when they were in the protest. They didn't know how to march to the state capitol. That's a clue. And their behaviors was so unfamiliar territory for us. The protesters who organize protests in Atlanta, we know them. They don't always agree with us. Sometimes they'll be the first ones to to go out publicly against us. They didn't know these people. They didn't want these people. Because at this point, they were not fighting for anyone's civil rights. They were here to destroy Atlanta. With the help of all of our partners, and we were able to close out the evening safely. I really was afraid I was going to have an officer shot and killed. As we come back into today, we have an absolute zero tolerance policy. Zero. There will be no lawlessness. It's not about protesting anymore. It's about saving our city. This is not who Atlanta is. And these folks who have come here thinking they're going to pull this crap are mistaken. Yes, you caught us off balance once. It's not going to happen twice. The curfew is useful for us for the simple reason we have a lot of folks who are out just lingering and mingling. And it creates high numbers of individuals, and it makes it difficult for us to distinguish who's just wanting to film the events of the evening, who's just wanting to protest, and who wants to throw knives and shoot guns at innocent people. The curfew allows us to say, please, just go in, let us deal with the people who came here with ill intent. And so I'm grateful. I'm very grateful for the curfew for that reason, that it allows us to focus on the problem. But this will not be tolerated. And anyone that thinks that this is something that the mayor and I subscribe to is clueless. Clueless. But we had to handle last night in the manner that provided the safest route out for our employees. And that was not going head to head with these folks who are just so violent. So I feel that we're in a good space. And quite frankly, I'm ready to just lock people up. And there you go. Thank you.